So in around 2009, this new big idea came on the scene, and it was created and invented by this anonymous person with a pseudonym. And they planted the seed, made it happen, created the new technology, and then after a couple of years disappeared for the sake of the project. Because, as they say, so that there wasn't one throat to choke as this gathered momentum, and because it has huge potential to change.
That's one way of looking at it, not one throat to
choke.
Not
my words. Not my words.
That's one way of looking at it, but there's another reason. Another reason that is really important, and that is as more who are in desire and in alignment are involved, then more potential for expansion exists. One mind cannot lead big movements. Many minds. More asking, more believing, more allowing, more expansion, more satisfaction. Let's take it relative to the subject that we tiptoed into in the last segment. So let's say that there is a leader, and we're talking about a philosophical differences. We are really not picking on any leaders or any countries or anything like that. But let's say there is a leader who wants to be the one who makes all of the decisions. And everyone else must just fall in line with that. So what naturally begins to happen, now we're not talking about the rightness or wrongness of that person's intent or philosophy. That's not what this is about. We want to talk about what happens next. So now there are others around who are also tuned in to source energy, who are, as everyone is, tuned into source energy, who are being inspired by life and who are launching rockets of desire. But because of their relationship with this one dominant, they don't allow themselves to go with the flow of their own ideas because they've been squelched and held back so often. So they don't let themselves go with the flow. So what happens in a situation like that? If the millions or billions who could be going with the flow for the expansion and the evolution and the uplifting of the planet, if they are all self-censored or self-squelched or self-choked, then isn't the dynamic of the whole enterprise dramatically less?
Absolutely.
When only one mind is allowed to do the thinking and the allowing? And of course, that can never be because no one can shut down the thoughts of the masses. But there is something that happens. There is something that happens to someone who perceives themselves as not allowed to make their own decisions, or not allowed to dream, or not allowed. And so the upshot of that is that humanity, we're talking about mass consciousness, begins to think thoughts like this. I wish I didn't want that because it's painful to want it because I can't have it. When that is never true. But if someone can convince you, either through threats or persuasion, that everybody doesn't get to think just this one, and everybody isn't smart, just this one, and everybody doesn't get to decide just this one, there is a diminishment of those individual experiences. And that's sort of what you were describing there. It's what we were talking about in the earlier segment. That's why even in the dynamics of a family, when there's just one boss, one person making all of the decisions, and you see what happens in the dynamics of most families like that. There gets to be some rebellion, and then there gets to be some deception, and then there gets to be some sneaking around, and they find a way, they find their path of least resistance anyway, but it's with a lot more hardship and a lot more negative emotion than ever needed to be experienced. if everyone could be encouraged, if everyone could feel like they're about themselves in their physical bodies as their inner being feels about them in their physical bodies. And so it all works out all right. In other words, everything always works out because you can't pinch yourself off forever. Eventually, you croak yourselves. Someone else doesn't croak you or choke you. And you re-emerge into non-physical, which is the magnificent clearing ground. It's the magnificent release, inactivation of all negative emotions, and the reemergence into the fullness of who you are. And then you return again and again and again and again, not to fix a broken world and not to get people who believe one way to believe another way, but for the exposure to the life experience, for the promise of the satisfaction that is available to all. So we're just encouraging. We just say, why wait? Why not get in there and let yourself sync up with yourself and really know who you are and ask for what you want. And every conversation that we have in any of these kinds of formats, every time, our dominant, our singular intention, our only intention is to help you as individuals find your way to your feeling and knowing who you are, so that all that this life and those that have come before have caused you to ask for can be received in the fullest of fashion right here, right now. We don't think you should have to croak in order to feel the wholeness of who you are. In fact, we know for sure that you can calibrate your way there. And we don't think you should need to wish that everybody else comes with you, because some of them are ready to and some of them aren't. But they all eventually will. And it's not your work to make sure that happens. And so when you think about it, most of those who are in families trying to call all the shots are well-meaning. They wish for or long for the well-being of those that they are watching over. Everyone at the core means well. It's just there's a disagreement about how to get to well-being. And a lot of humans really misunderstand. You can't get there through pain and struggle and suffering and bullying and meanness and war. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good enough?
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Now what? Right here?